Hello, welcome to the Gay Cruise and Travel Podcast with me, Joey T. Today, I am going to do one of my favorite things to do on any podcast, which is a Q&A. And we're going to tackle some Q&As specifically for the upcoming Allure cruise. But before we get to that, I want to quickly mention the cruise vacation guide. So I mentioned in last week's episode that once the cruise vacation guide, which is an electronic PDF that Atlantis will send out usually 1 or 2 weeks before the cruise, that once that electronic PDF gets sent out for this Allure cruise, that I would go through it in detail. And in the last email that Atlantis sent out, it mentioned that the CVG would have been released last week. And as far as I know, it has not been sent out yet. But as soon as the CVG actually goes out, I'm going to do a podcast episode all on that CVG. So if it comes out tomorrow or like the day after, I might do an extra episode of the podcast. We have a new episode of this podcast every Monday, by the way. So if the CVG comes out close to the weekend, maybe I will go over the CVG in the next episode. But like I mentioned in last week's episode, it's not that uncommon for Atlantis to be late setting out the CVGs. I don't know why they said it would be out last week when it wasn't sent out. But anyways, I'm excited to go through the CVG with all of you. So once it comes out, I will have a episode about it in some way, shape, or form. However, I do want to, in the absence of the CVG, just go through a few things that right now, 2 weeks away to the Allure cruise, that you should have already been on top of already. Some things that I haven't mentioned so far in all my talk about this particular cruise. Flights. Unless you are within driving distance to Miami and you plan to drive to the terminal and park there, which is completely cool. That's awesome. However, I think most of you probably are not going to be in that area. You need to fly to Miami somehow. So, do you have your flights already? I mean, just go on Google Flights, basically. That's what I do. I'll go on Google Flights, and I just punch in where I'm flying from, and I'll fly to either Miami International, or MIA is the 3-letter airport code, or you can also fly to Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood Airport, which is FLL, the airport code. I'm actually flying to Fort Lauderdale for this particular cruise because there are only 2 airlines that do direct flights from LAX, where I'm coming from in Los Angeles, to the Miami area. So I can fly American Airlines and go directly to Miami Airport, or I can fly JetBlue and go directly to Fort Lauderdale. And just happened that with my schedule, the JetBlue flight was going to be a little bit nicer. So I will fly to Fort Lauderdale, and then I just grab an Uber, Lyft, whatever, to the hotel. I'm staying in a hotel in Miami. So there you go. But if you haven't looked at flights yet, please look at flights now. Flights tend to get quite expensive when you only have like a few days before you actually need to fly out. But now that we're like 2 weeks away, prices shouldn't be too crazy. It kind of depends on where you're flying from. But you know, if you haven't looked at flights yet and you need flights, just look at it now. The other thing you need to look at right now, if you haven't looked at it, is accommodations. So unless you're going to arrive the morning of when the cruise sets sail, which I don't recommend. If any of you have watched any of my YouTube advice videos or heard me on a different podcast episode talking about accommodations and how to get to the city of the port for a cruise, I've always generally recommended you need to fly in the day or the night before when the cruise sets sail, because if you fly in the morning of the cruise, if your flight gets delayed or your flight gets canceled, and then, you know, you can't catch another flight out until that night or the next day, you just missed the cruise. And unless you've got some good travel insurance on you, you're not going to get the money for the cruise back. And even if you do get your money back, well, your point is to go on the cruise. Your point is not to just get a refund for the cruise. So I always recommend flying in the day or the night before when the cruise actually sets sail. That means you need accommodations to stay somewhere, a hotel, a friend's place, an Airbnb, what have you. All right, Onto some other things that we have talked about already. Order your party outfits. They might take a little bit of time to arrive. You know, getting Amazon Prime, that's fine. But sometimes when my friends and I have done outfits, coordinated outfits, and we're looking at things at Amazon, half the items we were looking at were coming from a supplier overseas, and it wasn't 2-day shipping. It would have taken 7 days or 10 days or 2 weeks. So just double check the shipping times for some of the party outfit items you want to order. Same thing for door decor. I just did a door decor tutorial video on my YouTube channel 2 weeks ago. Go ahead and check that out if you have no idea what door decor is, or you just want to see what are some basic items of a door decor setup. Go check that out. But if you want photos to be printed, professionally printed onto photo paper, you could usually do that kind of last minute. If you live in the US and you have a CVS or a Walgreens or something like that nearby, a lot of those locations have photo printing services, and you can just upload the photos you want them to print online or via their app a lot of times, and then later that day or next day, sometimes you can just go pick them up. So that part is not too much of a rush. You still have some time to like pick out photos from your social media or your library or whatever and get them printed if you want to do that. Other things you might want to do for your door decor. In my tutorial, I've got photos, I've got a whiteboard, and I've got dry erase markers. Very simple, very basic, and those are very common items that you can definitely Amazon Prime or just go down to your Staples or Office Depot or whatever and just grab really quickly. But if you have designs on something a little bit more advanced, you want to have some sort of special decorations or whatever, just get the order in and just make sure it arrives on time so that you have time to pack them into your luggage. Finally, cruise cards are something that if you want to order physical cruise cards, they do take some time to be printed and made and shipped to you. So I'm going to put down into the description the company I always use for physical cruise cards, which is from a company called moo.com. Check the link in the description. Usually, if you want their least expensive shipping service, that takes like a week, give or take, because they have to custom print your cards. But all the cards are custom. You design it on their website, you put your photo, your information, you pick the colors and the font and everything, the layout, and then they have to physically print it, and then they have to put it into a box and ship it to you. That takes a little bit of time. And that's usually the thing for a cruise that I overlook the most. Go get them now. It probably takes a week or so for them to print it and box it and ship it to you. If you don't know what cruise cards are, I'm going to also link down in the description below a video I've done about physical cruise cards. And they're not absolutely mandatory, but I think they are real cute and whimsical and really fun. So there you go. Flights, accommodations, order your outfits, order your door decor stuff. If you want physical cruise cards, get that ordered as well. All right, let's move it on to some Q&As. Now, I've got several questions here. I got a couple questions from the YouTube comments. If you have any questions about anything cruise related, feel free to just comment in the YouTube section for any of the episodes of this particular podcast. I will see them and I will answer them on an upcoming podcast episode. But there are also a couple questions that I've seen discussed or asked quite frequently on Facebook or in some of the chat rooms, for example, and I thought it would be fun to tackle those as well. Hey, when was the last time you really took care of your skin? The skin is the largest organ in the whole human body and is doing so much for you. It protects you from germs and cooties. It keeps you warm when you're cold. It keeps you cool when you're hot. It's making vitamin D. It gives you the gift of touch and sensation. And that's just scratching the surface, so you better take care of it. I started my own skincare company, Serve Labs, to serve fun and functional skincare for everyone so that you can serve fun while serving face. Go to servelabs.co, servelabs.co, or follow us at ServeLabs on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and discover how easy and fun it is to treat your skin right with Serve Labs. Let's get to it. Our first question. Hey Joey, I'm going on the Allure cruise and had a couple questions for your next video. Are there going to be quote unquote formal dining nights on that cruise? Royal Caribbean normally does 2 of those on their 7-night cruises, and I didn't know if Atlantis does that or if it's just an RC thing. So there are no formal dining nights on Atlantis. For those of you that have never done any cruise or only done the Atlantis cruises before, or never done like a regular non-charter Royal Caribbean cruise, some of the nights they have what's called a formal night for the main dining service that they have in the main dining hall, which is, you dress up in formal wear. You dress up nice, suit, a tie. Girls can wear a nice dress, for example, formal wear, proper formal wear. And then it's just something fun to do, to go to dinner, just have like a really nice, fancy, formal dinner. So that's a thing on a lot of the Royal Caribbean cruises that they sell and operate themselves. Atlantis, again, when they run a sailing, they charter the entire ship, and not everything works the same. I've never seen anyone actually really dress up for anything on an Atlantis cruise, regardless of the cruise line that's operating it. I think the only thing that might still have a dress code is the chef's table, which is one of the specialty restaurants that you can go to. It's a more formal type of dining venue and experience, and that one I think does have a more formal dress code. But for all the other restaurants, there is no formal night. And there's a follow-up to this question. There's a part 2. Also, what's usually the dress code in the main dining room? RC has it listed as smart casual with no jeans or shorts, but does the Atlantis cruise follow that same dress code? I don't think Atlantis follows that. What I actually see in all the dining is people usually dress pretty casual. Smart casual, I would consider that to be like a sport jacket, maybe loafers, not shorts, for example. But on a Atlantis sailing, I don't think they do smart casual. So in the main dining hall, as an example, I've seen people go in there with sleeveless tees, tank tops, shorts, sandals. Not swimmer, though. You can't be in swim trunks or in a Speedo. You have to have a shirt. But I would call it casual. You should still look neat and tidy. Your clothes shouldn't be like ripped and they shouldn't be dirty or whatever. Some people do dress up smart casual, maybe more on the casual side of smart casual. But yeah, in the main dining, for example, in most of the specialty restaurants that are not like super, super fancy, I think you can just get away with like a t-shirt. Doesn't even have to be like a button up. You can get away with jeans or shorts as long as it's not like like swimwear shorts. So I think it's more just like casual, like neat casual, and it's not so much smart casual on an Atlantis cruise when it comes to the dress code for not just the main dining, but for a lot of the restaurants. I would say, piggybacking off of this, the Windjammer buffet, it's where they have an extended service. So they do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But then nighttime, when there's a party going on, Windjammer is one of the venues that does a late night service. So from like 11 p.m. or midnight, they stay open until like 3 or 4 a.m. So while the parties are going, the buffet's open until like 3 or 4-ish. Same as like the pizza place, which is Sorrento's, which I love. In the buffet, it's quite easy. Let's put it that way. It's quite easy to walk in there in your party outfit because, and I've done this before, it's quite easy to go from the party to the buffet. Like in the middle of the party, you get hungry. You can't go to the buffet and eat something and go back to the party. You can go down to the pizza place and come back to the party. The parties are come and go. And there's no like wristband and no ticket. You just walk in. So it's quite common for people to like go to the pizza place or go to the buffet in their party outfit. I will say though, at least for like the buffet, don't go in there in a jockstrap. Like you should have your butt crack should not be exposed. It's interesting how many people disagree with me on that point, but it's basically a restaurant. Like you would not usually walk into a restaurant in a jockstrap. I know the party's going on, and I think on most sailings I've been on, the staff, the crew that actually works the ship, by the way, the people that have to like clean up your tables and cook you the food and all of that in the buffet, they usually try to look the other way. So I will say, do your best to not wear like a jockstrap or have something that skimpy when you go get food at the buffet. And also, do not be offended or surprised if the crew hands you a towel if you are wearing something on the skimpy side, because you really are not supposed to go in there with a jockstrap. They do have certain dress codes, so don't be offended or surprised. I've seen it quite commonly where, there's a crew member at the entrance to the buffet and they just have a huge stack of towels in like a cart. And then if someone isn't wearing that much clothes, they get handed a towel. If you're handed a towel, just put it around your waist. I mean, they're not even really supposed to let shirtless people in, but they usually just don't care if you are shirtless when you go into the buffet. But if they hand you a towel, just wrap it around your waist. Just at least have that amount of respect for the crew and the people that are serving you the food, and that they don't want you in your open butt crack sitting in the buffet. My 2 cents is I don't think you should go in there jockstrap. A lot of people disagree with me, and that's their opinion, but you kind of should be following the directions of the crew. If the crew wants you to wrap a towel around your waist, don't complain and don't be offended, just do it. Okay. The next question is, I heard the power strips / extension cords are banned. What about the crew's approved ones? So this was something that popped up a little more recently, and I've done my research on this. So Royal Caribbean has updated the language in their policy and on their website about what type of power outlet charging devices are allowed. And it looks like some of the websites, outlets on the internet have tried to got clarification on the updates as well, but there's still a little bit of ambiguity just directly reading the website. So as far as I can tell, here is what is allowed and how it's different from before. So previously, the wording said that you couldn't have any sort of power strips that has surge suppression capabilities, okay? So a power strip basically turns one outlet into multiple outlets, okay? You have a one wall outlet that you can only plug one thing into. The power strip lets you plug 7 things, and it splits the power 7 ways. So at a very base level, that's what a power strip does. A surge protector or surge suppressor is if there is a voltage spike on the power supply. Like if something was struck by lightning, okay, and you get a sudden spike in voltage, that's harmful for the devices you have plugged in for the power. So a lot of power strips also have this surge suppression functionality, and apparently that functionality was what was banned before. Now, with the recent change, basically anything that turns one AC outlet into multiple AC outlets is banned. So basically, you need to look at the things that you need to power up in your stateroom for your cruise. A lot of electronics and devices that people bring usually these days can be powered by USB. So it's totally fine to have a USB charger, okay, or a USB power supply, which is anything that you plug into an AC outlet that gives you a bunch of USB outlets. Okay, so there's a lot of popular ones online. Most people have several USB devices in their lives. So you are probably all familiar with USB chargers, USB power adapters. Some of those give you one USB outlet. Some of them give you multiple outlets. So for the purpose of a cruise, you only have a limited number of AC outlets in your stateroom, maybe 2 or 3, 4 at the most, if you count the ones in the bathroom. So what you might want to do is, if you don't have one already, just grab a USB charger, a USB wall charger, USB power supply that basically you plug it into one AC wall outlet, but it gives you a bunch of USB ports, a bunch of USB outlets, so you can charge multiple USB devices at once. Obviously, everybody has a different number of devices and gadgets and so on and so forth that they're going to bring onto the cruise. Look at your situation, look at all the electronics you're going to bring, and then you can figure out from there what kind of USB charger is going to be best suited for your needs. Now, there are on Amazon and other places online so-called quote-unquote cruise-approved power outlets. So they're not corded things. It's basically this little brick that you would plug into the outlets the AC outlets in your stateroom on the cruise, and it gives you multiple AC outlets. So with the new rules, those are banned as well. Honestly, by the way, most cruise lines have never really had an official approval process for what type of outlet devices in the marketplace are allowed or not. So most cruise lines don't have some sort of formal approval certification program. So a lot of these things on Amazon or wherever online that are mentioning they're cruise approved, quote unquote, it's not really like approved by the cruise lines officially. It's more like marketing. They've designed something that adhere to the cruise lines guidance at the time that those things were designed, and then they went ahead and called it quote unquote cruise approved. Again, anything that turns one AC outlet into multiple AC outlets, you are not supposed to have those now on any Royal Caribbean sailing. So the ones that are cruise approved, for the purposes of this new Royal Caribbean update, they are not cruise approved. So there you go. All right, next question. Will there be shore excursions on the days that we are in port? By the way, in port means when we're docked at some sort of destination in the itinerary. If so, where can I find more information about them? Thanks. So yes, we do have shore excursions for the different ports that we are at. So we're going to be at St. Martin. We're going to be in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And then we also will be in Labadee, which is a private island that Royal Caribbean owns. To look at the shore excursions, you have to first add your reservation onto your login in the Royal Caribbean website or in the Royal Caribbean app. So if you've been booked on this cruise for a little while, you should have gotten your Royal Caribbean reservation number from Atlantis probably at least a few weeks ago. It did the first round of sending that out on Christmas Eve, I believe. So if you already have your Royal Caribbean reservation number, you can go on Royal Caribbean's website or the Royal Caribbean mobile app, put that number in, then you can actually go through all the different excursions that are available to book in advance for the different ports of this particular sailing. I've already added my reservation into the Royal Caribbean app on my phone. A couple of days ago, I took a look at it. The number of excursions is going to really vary depending on the destination. So at St. Martin, it's not a type of place that has a lot of shore excursions, or Shore X for short. So you're not going to see that much for St. Martin. They only got like maybe one or two things there, and they're not terribly exciting. San Juan, it's a bigger place. San Juan has like a few more Shore X's, but still not a ton. Labadee is basically a private island, private Royal Caribbean island, and it's purpose-built for it to have things to do for when the cruise ships dock there. So there's actually quite a bit of Shore X activities at Labadee. But yeah, so go to the app, make sure reservations added, and then you can look at the different days of the cruise, and you can see which days where we're docked. You can click on the days where we are docked, then there will be a excursions section you can tap on, and then you can see all the different shore excursions that are available for you to preview or book in advance. Okay, can I tell you something for real? Skincare is not really a sexy topic. No one's waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my God, I have to take care of my skin. I know I talk a lot on the podcast, I have a lot of opinions, and I have a lot of advice to give. But if you don't listen to me about anything, listen to me about this. You have to take care of yourself, and you also have to take care of your skin. I believe in it so much, and I think it's such a critical thing that I started my own skincare company, Serve Labs, to serve fun and functional skincare for everyone. And you know what? Not to toot my own horn, but people are always telling me, your skin looks so good, and I can't believe how old you are. Do you know why? Because I've been taking care of my skin for many, many years. But I know, for a lot of you, skincare just sounds like another chore. But I want to make it fun. And that's where Serve Labs comes in. Go to servelabs.co, servelabs.co, or follow us at Serve Labs on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and discover how easy and fun it is to treat your skin right with Serve Labs. All right, final question I've got here. It's not so much a question, actually. It's something I want to, something I should have mentioned in the previous podcast episode when I was talking about some possible party theme outfit ideas. And it's in a run of my guidelines that I've given before in previous years. And that is, don't bring anything that resembles a weapon, even if it's not real, onto the cruise. One year, I forgot what year it was, but wasn't super long ago, but I think this was pre-pandemic. It was this equivalent cruise. It was like the January, February, the big party cruise. I was still outside the terminal. I came with some friends, and there were a lot of people. It's a big ship, so a lot of people trying to check in. So we're still outside. We haven't actually gone inside the terminal. There's a little bit of a queue. And out of nowhere, they had to evacuate the terminal. Everyone that was in the terminal, they had to evacuate. And we had no idea. A little bit later, we heard that someone had tried to bring in a replica hand grenade. And that was part of their outfit for the dog tag tea dance. And it's a replica, so it wasn't real. There's no explosives or anything in there. But it's a replica, which meant it looked real. And the security people at the port have no way. They're not circuit party dog tag tea dance specialists. Most cruises that they screened for do not have parties like that. Okay? So don't bring anything that is a weapon, obviously. Don't bring anything that's a weapon. And don't bring anything that is like a replica or something that looks like a weapon. Because, that's why I tell that story of someone bringing a replica hand grenade and they evacuated the whole terminal building because they have no way to tell whether it's real or not. So that's not a question, not a Q&A per se, but it's something that I think is worth highlighting that I forgot to remind everyone of in last week's episode when I was talking about the party outfits. It's great that you have the creativity, but just make sure it's not something that's going to cause them to evacuate the terminal again. I think if you do want to incorporate something along those lines and be safe, you can get inflatable versions of things. You can get that's very clearly a toy and not something that's harmful. You can get blow-up invadable guns, like something that they would sell at Toys R Us for kids that are like 5 years old. Okay, so inflatables, I actually love, and the inflatables, they fold up real nice and take up only a little bit of luggage space. Then once you get on board, before you go to the party, you can, inflate it and blow it up. So that's one way to do it. I've seen people bring like plastic toy guns and toy bullets on like a sash type of thing, but they were like very clearly like fake, like very clearly plastic, like play school level, like for an 8-year-old type of plastic, like not metal. They're very clearly just cheap plastic, and they were very clearly, when you look at them closely enough, clearly not bullets. Okay, it's like what a 8-year-old, your average 8-year-old might wear for like a Halloween costume. Okay, so if something is very clearly not dangerous, then I think you could be okay. But just be warned. It wasn't fun to evacuate thousands of people. There were like at least 1,000 people in that terminal building for sure. The ship held 5,500 passengers and it was sold out. So it was not fun to do that evacuation, girl. That was not fun. All right, that's it for today's episode of the Gay Cruise and Travel podcast with me, just Joey T. I love doing Q&As. So if you have any questions at all, again, feel free to drop it onto the YouTube comment section for any episode of this podcast on my YouTube channel, just Joey T. Again, make sure you got your flights. Make sure you got your accommodations if you need them. Order your party outfits now. Order your door decor stuff now. Again, I've got my door decor tutorial video link below. If you want physical cruise cards, which I think are so much fun, order those now. Those do take probably at least a week, maybe 4 or 5 days at the fastest if you pay extra for the expedited shipping. Moo.com is the site that I use. I will link that in the description below as well. And as soon as this darn CVG comes out, I will be back with another episode of the podcast, and we will dig into the CVG comprehensively. Until next time, bye y'all.